Hey everyone, welcome back to Casual Duels channel. I'm Oz, and today I'm showing off a new deck profile of a archetype that I think we've all known and loved for a while. Not much of an archetype for recently, but I digress. Relinquished, or Eyes Restrict monsters. Well, I don't know what the archetypes actually call it because there's no like cohesive name. So yeah, I've been playing around with this a little bit. And with the help of Jaff, who's also on this channel, the Subterror dude, we've came up with a monstrosity that works. It isn't amazing, but it works. There's also another version that we've been working with, but we haven't finalized that, so we might profile that later. Anyway, this is more of a pure build, and it's a turbo out Millennium Eyes. So let's jump into the profile really quick, and then I'll explain some of the choices I've made. So play one Faceless Mage. This one, while he's in the hand grave, can special summon himself on a Ice Restrict or Relinquished monster, store a battle or card effect. But if he just leaves the field, leaves field to grave, you could target a Ice Restrict Fusion or Relinquished in the graveyard, special summon it. Hard ones returns for both effects. So he kind of is your he's your only way to be protected from Regeki or Dark Hole, but he's hard once per turn, so drawing multiple of them is kind of bad. He's a level 5, he's kind of awkward. He's a good hand thing to have in the hand. He's also really great for ritual summoning if you don't have anything else. So triple Armageddonite. This seems weird, I'm sure, to most people. As far as I'm concerned, no one else has really played any sort of build like this, but I think this is really important because what you can do is you can normal summon this and send this, which can trigger to add itself back to the hand when you summon any of your 3 boys. So he's really great. And he's also dark. You're playing all dark except for 2 water. So yeah, One Witch the Black Forest. This card, I wouldn't say it's the 40th card in the deck, but it's probably the 39th or 38th card in the deck. It's kind of getting lower on the totem pole of whether or not you should keep it. It's when you normal summon it and you acknowledge it, not judgment. You acknowledge it away. You get the search effect, which searches this guy. I just think Armageddonite's just better for that. But it's basically your 4th copy Armageddonite. You could play Dark Grepher, I guess, but Dark Grepher's discarding is just a little too heavy. So yeah, so there's that synergy. You can also link away with it and get the search as well. But remember, you can't activate the effects of the thing you search the turn you add it. So that's something to keep in mind. But this is a quick effect, so that usually doesn't matter. And then you play the Predaplant engine to search out your fusion, your new fusion, poly, or instant fusion. You have a lot of targets for it. I've had terrible luck drawing Cobra almost every time I playtest, but if you don't do that, you're in good hands, and any extra copies of Scorpio are allure targets. And you can also kind of do a little damage, 1200 poking. Because sometimes your opponent won't want to commit anything to board because of all your Relinquished, so he's kind of sometimes your beater, same thing with Armageddonite. It's kind of funny. King of Swamp, you can use him as Thousand Eyes Idol to make OG, or you can discard him for Fusion, and he's also just an effect monster in your hand for Millennium Eyes, so he's just kind of a deck thinner. He's somewhat optional, but I've liked him every time I drew him, so I wouldn't necessarily cut him. 1 blue boy, just in case you don't draw these or these. Your next best option is to draw blue boy, because other than these and these, you don't have any kind of normal summon commitment as like starting first turn. Because this deck does want to go first because you want to react to your opponent, because you can't break a board very easily with this deck at all. Because his effect activation is just so situational that responding is just so much more difficult. The best card in the deck is Millennium Eyes Illusionist. Hard ones return, which is the worst part, but it's quick effect. You can discard a card to target one effect monster your opponent controls, equip it to any of your big boys, and while it's in the graveyard, if any of your big boys are special summoned, you can add him back to the hand from grave. It's hard to get him back out of the grave after once, but you can do some shenanigans and get it out. King Caballo, this is the 40th card in the deck, in my opinion. Sometimes he's just an allure target, and other times he can extend. Because one thing you can do is if you have a purposely summoned Relinquished or any of these guys, and you have this engrave, and you're gonna make one of these guys again, like you have a Poly or a Relinquished Fusion or whatever. You can play him, summon out one of these guys. This triggers his effect, add him back to hand. Then you can respond to your opponent immediately. That's something you can do, and then overlay into like one of your XEs or Mega Link, I guess. So those are options. Caballo, I like him. He's just one of the old. I played him in Dustin's, a long time ago, and just one of my favorite spirit cards, if not my favorite spirit monster. So yeah, that's kind of the reason I'm playing that. Also, sorry my fan is getting really hot because it hasn't done that before. Anyway, I got Relinquished because you're playing Relinquished. You also know what it does. Triple Alert because you're playing a lot of darks. Insta Fusion, it's a one of. I was playing at 3 at first, then I dropped it down to 2, then I dropped it down to 1. This is probably the 39th card in the deck. It's another card you could probably cut, but it triggers out his effect to add him back to hand. And sometimes, not gonna lie, I'll Insta Fusion summon out this guy just so I can do my other shenanigans, like normal summon Scorpio. Because if my opponent activates a hand trap, this instant fusion to Millennium Eyes can steal it. Because Millennium Eyes effect isn't once per turn, like a hard once per turn. So if you use him as a material to make another one of him, you can now activate that once as well. So that's something to keep an eye on. I think it's kind of a cute card, but not absolutely necessary. Pre-preps because you want to search this guy because he's a fusion material. And also actually making him isn't the worst option. Knowledge because you want to dig. This deck is turbo. It's digging like crazy. You will go through a lot of cards in one turn if your opponent doesn't stop you, which they can very easily, but I digress. Double Poly. Jeff's idea, actually. I didn't think about actually playing Poly. Of course, the King of Swamp. Because you can just make this guy with a Relinquished and Effect Monster, so that's not super hard. And with this in your hand, you can make him. So it's actually really good. And the problem with Relinquished Fusion is it banishes the materials no matter where they are. It can fusion them from hand, deck, or not deck, hand, field, or grave, but it banishes all of them regardless. It isn't like an invocation where at least the stuff in the hand goes to the grave. No, they all get banished. So this is more like your second fusion. You're gonna start with Poly, and then if they break your board, you can use Relinquished Fusion to banish the materials in the grave that you used for this and reoccur a board. I think it's pretty good, but 3 is just too much. Because drawing a lot of spells in this deck that aren't like these, basically, or this, it's kind of bad. 1 Foolish, because it's your other copy of Armageddon Knight for this. Double Secrets. I was playing triple of that, but I was trying to squeeze in room for this extra Poly, because I actually do really like Poly. I was playing at 1, and I wanted to see it a little bit more. But I think Blue Boy is really important because you don't command normal summon a lot. So I thought I'd rather play 1 Blue Boy instead of the 3rd Secrets, but that's preference, really. But this is an effect monster. I just think that helps a lot for making out him. Triple Prep, because Prep is out, and something you can do is you can pre-prep, make Relinquished, actually summon it, then play pre-prep, or play normal prep. I always call it pre-prep. Play normal prep, and then search out another Relinquished out of your deck, and then add back that ritual that you just used. So it kind of just nets you somewhat advantage. I don't know what you can really do with that, but it's just something to think about. Double ritual, because you're not going to make Relinquished properly a lot. He's more of a fusion material, but you want to have these for times where you can't. You don't have any of your fusion. You don't have any of these 5 cards to make this guy mainly, but sometimes so. So you just want to have an option to make it, and it's also you have to have it for pre-prep. So, and then one of it is if you draw it to guard it. So 2, and then finally the new fusion, which, like I said, fuses any banishes any material that it's used, and it can do from hand, field, and or grave. And also, it's a quick effect, so you can do it on your opponent's turn. But then the other effect, while it's in the graveyard, is only during your main phase. That's the worst part of this card. As during your main phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard, then target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, equip that target to an Eyes Restrict monster or Relinquished that you control, and it's treated as the monster's effect by equipping. So same thing with this. It's essentially this, but slower, and it's in your main phase. But you can do it the turn you send it, I believe. Because you can only activate each effect once per turn. So yeah, it's something to think about. I always forgot about it, and it'll help, because your opponent's going to bait out this effect, and if you have this in your hand, you're even golden, because they won't know that. But they know they have to bait out this effect. So they make this guy, you make this guy, they'll bait it out the effect, then you have this, and you have this. This isn't a quick effect, you can't respond, but this one can't. So then you want to use this one, and then if they try to do something else, you can respond to this. So let's go to the extra deck. I should be playing 15 cards. I've been playtesting, and I just didn't think about play another XC, play another Link, play another Insta Fusion target if you want. It's your choice, but definitely play 15 because why would you not? You have the option to. Millennium Eyes. It's quick effect during place turn, obviously. You can target one effect monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard. But the activation requirement is that when your opponent's monster activates their effect. So when they do, you can target one monster on the field, effect monster on your opponent's side of the field, or in their graveyard, equip it to the target, gains attack and defense. And monsters that this card is equipped with, all those monsters with that same name effects are negated, and they can't attack. So it's like a mini Thousand Eyes in that sense. But what you can do is it can negate hand traps because they'll activate the hand trap, discard for cost. You can target that discarded card and add it back to the hand and stop any of that. And then anything that's like Blue Boy, they normal summon Blue Boy. You just equip Blue Boy. Blue Boy's effects are now negated. They use the normal summon. They could be in a sticky situation. Any kind of slower deck that's really good against. Any deck that special summons a lot, kind of bad against. Also, one of the best parts about it is it can equip multiple cards. So, like this effect and this effect treat the effect of equipping as the monster's effect. Meaning if there's any restrictions, they can't have more than one, like I believe Relinquished does. Yeah, Relinquished does, and I know Thousand Eyes does. They can only equip one monster at a time. And since these count as the monster's effects, they cannot give a Relinquished or a Thousand Eyes restrict multiple monsters. But they can give this guy as many monsters, essentially 5. You can't have more than 5. Because, you're spelling trap zones. So, best part about this card. And it's just a really anti-hand trappy card. It's really cool. Problem is, if you don't have this in your hand, and you're going first and you've established this, they can just normal summon anything and beat over it. Go straight to main battle phase and beat over this. That is why this deck is turbo out and draw into this dude. Because you want this dude. That's why you're playing this guy, you're playing this, you're playing this. You want this card in your hand. Because this will lose if they just normal summon literally anything. But any kind of hand traps, or if they have a non-optional effect. See, like Blue Boy's not optional. So if they have something like that, then it can change to that. Thousand Eyes Restrict, you've played Goat, probably you know what he does. He's pretty good, he doesn't let you attack. For a while I thought he was just as good as Millennium Eyes, but he's not really. Just something. I haven't figured out the situation where you'd really want to make him. Probably more of a win more card, but I just have him in there because you can, and you can make him, and now he's cool. Princess Sprite, I don't know how many to play, because I don't know, it's all just a toolbox. You probably just play one of this, and then one of this, and then make some other room. But you can mill the top card of your deck, spell trap, you add it to your hand. It's 1800 beater, so it's pretty cool. I played it back in Spirals, Sending adult hand, half stack during play's turn, so it's pretty good. Deco Talker and Underclock Taker, just a link up into this. You can play any other links you want. You won't be linking very often because you're not playing Scaly Goats or anything, but just something to have. A spicy tech is Claire and Rushka, which everyone hates. I love them, but they are kind of terrible. But what you do is make them during main phase 2, and it's a spellcaster. So if you have Orpheus Scorpio, not Scorpio, on your field, you normal summon her, right? You go to main phase 2, you make this guy, or this girl, and if you have secrets, you search out knowledge. If you just have knowledge, you just play knowledge, and this spellcaster, send that to grave, so you no longer have a 0 attack link arrow up monster, and you get to draw 2 cards. Just because you have a lot of extra deck space, that's why I'm playing it. I think I'd still want to play one at least, because there are situations where you have the spellbook engine, and you have the Predator Plant engine, but you don't have any way to use the spellbook engine, and you search out Poly, which is kind of useless, because you don't have, Relinquished or whatever, so this deck is just really weird, and not that good. I'm not gonna lie, it's not that good. Side deck is just other options I was weighing out when I was building this deck. I've been working on this deck for a couple of days now. So overall thoughts is that it's a fun deck. It is not that competitive. It's easily counterable. It loses to spells and traps all day long. This guy's the only way to stop it, and that's a hard enough turn. So you can of course you can recur himself and then summon out stuff, but you don't want to play multiples of him because he's just bad in multiples, and so it's just kind of if you got him, you got him. If you want to dump him to grave or use him as virtual material, that's cool. If he's properly on the field and you acknowledge him, then he'll even get his effect. So that's something to keep in mind. But that is their biggest weakness. This level 5 dude is their only way to not lose to Regeki. And they have a hard time rebuilding boards, mainly because if they're interrupted, they have a problem. They have like pretty good recursion, like in a vacuum. If there's no responses, like drawing into this mid to late game is great, almost always, unless you banish all your Relinquished. That's why you play Poly. So that's really good. I mean, a pre-prep is always not terrible. Drawing into another one of hand traps is great, so that's always good. But it's just that's never going to happen in competitive senses. But this is a fun casual deck. I think fits the theme of this channel. I believe really fun. Not worth the price that they're at right now. They're insanely high. Like this is 23s. These are like 23s also. This is like 22, 20, something like that. It's ridiculous. So don't pay that much for it unless you just really want to. It's your money. But yeah, that's one of the biggest issues with it. And the other one is that this guy cannot get himself back out of the graveyard very easily. So you want to be constantly making more of these guys just to get him back into your hand if you're not drawing into that extra copies. Because, again, if your opponent ever activates a monster effect, they can just beat over this dude. That's an issue. I mean, once he equipped 1 or 2 cards, he probably has a big enough attack and defense. He's probably not going to die without them having to activate a monster effect, and then he can negate it. But it's just something to keep in mind. So yeah, those are basically the biggest issues, I think. I think King Caballo is an optional, Witch is somewhat optional, Insta Fusion somewhat optional. So those are 3 cards if you don't like those. I think this is still the best pure build to play. Again, Jaff and I have been messing around with another build that I don't want to spoil yet. But if you guys are interested in that, let us know. Comment down below, and we'll try to make that profile happen soon. I know we're really close to 200 subs. Hopefully that'll happen sooner rather than later, maybe before this thing goes up. So I just like to say thank you all so much. Didn't think we'd get that far when I first started this channel. I thought it'd be just something that would get maybe 5 or 10 views a video. But yeah, it really means a lot. Hopefully we can make some kind of video celebrating. We're ready to go on break, but after that we'll come back strong, I think. And yeah, so if there's any kind of questions, comments about this deck, leave them down below. If I messed up anywhere, or if there's something I should have definitely been playing, because again, it was just 2 people coming with this deck. We didn't know everything about it. Let us know. But I still think this is probably the best deck profile around, at least that I've seen. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.